Hello everyone, I'm Claire Marie B and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to take you through my May bullet journal setup, and I'm doing something a little bit different this month, and I'm going to use some really lovely coloured papers that I picked up. The theme I've chosen this month ties into the fact that we have a flower moon in May, and I really wanted to do the moon, and I still wanted to include flowers, and as soon as I realised it was called the flower moon in May, it just made sense to do a flower moon theme. So let's dive in. These are the papers that I bought. It's a Nepalese paper collection that's handmade papers, and I picked these up when I was on a trip to New York last year, and I went into a stationery store and found them. So you could use any paper to do this. You could also draw the moon as well if you wanted to. The first thing I did was pick which paper I wanted to use, which is this, I thought, really lovely pink and silver one. And then I've drawn all the different shapes that I want to use on the back of the paper. I've cut out some small circles, I'm cutting out some little moons, and then also I'm going to cut out a really big moon as well. So along with my pink and silver moon, I decided to use my craft note paper this month and do more like a typewriter font as well. So you can see with this spread, what's a little bit different for me is it's more about cutting out the papers and aligning them all and where I want them to be. That's why this is so different for me this month, because it's usually I will draw everything out and colour everything, and I did start this original design by drawing the moon and then drawing a flower design inside, but I just really wanted to use these papers because I just think they're fantastic, and they've been sat in my drawer for about a year, so hopefully I'll get to use all the other ones soon as well. I'm going to apologise up front as well if there's any noise. I'm currently in a hotel room that's close to an airport. I'm away for work, and every now and again there's an aeroplane that flies overhead. So apologies if you hear any background noise. I'm going to get through this as quick as I can and as best I can, but I apologise in advance if there's any noise disturbance today. To draw out the letters, I'm using a Tombow dual brush black pen. Any black pen would do for this. It was just that was the one that I had handy. I did contemplate using my one of my Sakuras, but I picked the Tombow just because it was to hand in my pencil case, and it's got quite a thick nib as well, a bit thicker than the Sakura. It would have taken me a little bit of time to draw that out, I think. I'm sticking the A down first in the middle before I stick the M and the Y, because you can guarantee that I'll stick them wonky, so I thought it was best to stick the A down in the middle first. And then to finish off the design, I'm drawing out some flowers as well, with it being a flower moon. I know there's flowers in the moon, but I wanted to take those little flowers and also edge the border with those and use those little flowers as a little design throughout the rest of the spread as well, to keep it consistent through the month. This month I didn't have a quote in mind, and I didn't want to put my calendar on a small page on the left, so I've decided to leave that blank for now and see what pops up in May that I end up filling that blank space with, as I'm sure there will be something. Onto my calendar spread. For the last few months, I've been using my colour pens to do all of the boxes, and I'm really enjoying doing that. It's helping for my spread to be a lot brighter. My calendar spreads, I felt, were a little bit dull before I stopped doing them, and now that I've brought them back, I wanted to make them a bit brighter. So I'm picking the 4 different shades that I've used across the cover page and that I'll be using throughout the whole spread, and then I'm colouring a box for each day of the month. Now you'll see here, I always say I'll tell you when I go wrong. I absolutely went wrong. Whenever I do the calendar spread, I go into like autopilot and get distracted. I'll have music on in the background and be singing along and then I go wrong. And this is what happens. So what I'm doing here is cutting from the back of my book to get some paper to stick over the top. And there we go, good as new. It would have really bothered me if I had the extra box for the month because it was in a bright pink colour. If it had been a different colour, I might have blended it in or turned the box into something else. But that was just too much. And because of where the box was, it didn't make sense to me to cover it over with the nice Nepalese paper that I had either. So yeah, it just made sense to cover it with the bullet journal paper for now. I tried to round the edges of the paper in the puncher, the corner punch. It didn't work because of the type of paper it is, because it's hand pressed paper. So I had to give up and hand cut that. The other thing that I found as I was using this paper is, and you can see it there, the wheel sort of pulls and lifts the back of the paper off. So I ended up giving up with this and admitting defeat that my little sticky tape roll just doesn't work. So you will see me swap out later in the video to double-sided sticky tape, and I wish I'd used that in the first place. So there's a little tip from me. If you're going to do anything with hand pressed paper, then my recommendation is just use double-sided sticky tape from a roll and not one that's on like a dispenser wheel that I was doing. So that was my lesson learned. The other thing that I've decided to use this month is my Notebook Therapy stencil set with the little moons. The little moon that I did at the top left didn't come out so good, so I don't use that stencil again on the rest of the pages. It was just a bit too small and not quite the moon shape that I was going for. But the other moon that's at the bottom right was just the perfect size for what I'm wanting to do and made things an awful lot quicker and gave me a much neater moon. I'm using the sticky cross grid tape roll to do my to-do list. It's so convenient, that tape. It's really easy to use. You can tear it, you can cut it with scissors. It's just so handy. And then literally just peel off the back and stick it down. It takes less time than me doing the craft paper note paper, and also it's a bit thinner than that as well, so it doesn't bulk out my journal quite so much. I think I was quite heavy-handed with craft note paper in previous spreads, and then it can be really difficult when you're then drawing on the other side. For my mission control this month, I'm doing a Dutch door, and I really wanted to use the paper down the sides, one piece, so that when you flip the Dutch door, that's what you can see regardless of which side the Dutch door is. And I also wanted to have one on the other side as well, so that it really edged as a nice border. On the left hand side, I'm putting my goals and expenses, and on the right hand side, I'm going to have my trackers. I'm still keeping the same format for my trackers. I find it much more space effective and also a lot quicker and easier for me to fill in, and I don't feel so bad if I'm not keeping up to date with completing everything every single day. One of the focuses that I really want to have for this month is to really focus on the goals a little bit more. I've let that drop somewhat, and therefore I'm starting to feel like my mission control spreads aren't always effective each month, and you know I don't like wasting space wasting this gorgeous paper. So yeah, I might need to shake things up on my mission control just a little bit because it's not being used to its full potential. For the title, I decided to cut out all these individual discs of the craft paper, notebook paper, and then write mission control all the way down there. This was probably the fiddliest and longest bit to do and stick all of that in and to line it all up, and I did start to stress out about is it even, and then I just went for it. So you probably, to the naked eye, there probably are a few bits where it's there's a bit of a bigger gap on a couple of letters than others, but never mind. For my Instagram planner on the left hand side, I've put a dividing line down because I really want to focus on doing more stories. I get distracted and I have all these intentions of doing stories and reels in the month, and then the month just runs away with me. So yeah, I thought I would do a dividing line and really try and post more stories. So this is my final spread, which is the memories spread. Again, I decided to do the discs of the craft notepaper for the title. And at the top left, I'm doing some bullet point dots for me to fill in things that have happened in the month. And over on the bottom right, this is where I'm going to be putting the TV and movies that I've watched or am watching, so I can keep a track because I forget where I'm up to or what series we're watching. And I really love to track what films we've watched as well that month. You may have noticed that I haven't put any washi tape in yet. Don't worry, there is washi tape coming. I just decided this month to do all of the spreads first and then go back with the washi tape. Part of the reason for that was I had a few different options, and sometimes as I work my way through the spreads, I land on something a little bit different or it evolves. So I thought I'd let the theme evolve first and then I would go washi tape afterwards so that it was cohesive across all of the pages. And here's my final flip through. Thank you so much for watching today. If you liked my video, please do hit like and subscribe to be notified about any future content that I release. Have a wonderful May and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.